80 to 90% 49er fans. I mean, I
Yeah,
literally
that's
saw
crazy.
red everywhere I walked. A lot of Niner fans out there chanting, high-fiving each other, making new friends next to you. It was a great atmosphere. It's a great stadium. It's our second home stadium, but the Rams went on the road in LA and took it to us in the fourth quarter. We made a lot of mistakes. We helped them out. There's no excuses for letting them get a fake punt, and in a very obvious situation, there's no excuses for three pass defense flags in a very crucial moment in the game on one play. There's no excuse for letting Tutu Atwell get behind you on a don't let anybody get behind you situation. And we shot ourselves in the foot. What can I say other than the Niners? They're going to have to do a lot of soul searching, and they're going to have to figure out how to be more focused and close these games out.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where we know we're not at that point where it's like panic button. It's just we got to start.
Concern button.
We got to close out these games, and finishing is everything. And I think Lenore, in his after the game interview, he put it right on the head. They got to hold people accountable, and the guys that are messing up need to know that it's not. This is like what Warner said too. They got to feel this loss, but it's one of those things where you look at the stats, and we should have won the game. We beat them almost every aspect of the game, and we should have won this game. And that's why it makes it so disappointing to see another loss, but it's still a loss. A loss is a loss, just like a win is a win. So they gotta focus. And New England at home, I'm looking for a bounce back game. But right now, I heard Brock Purdy is actually day to day with his back. He got a string of injuries but that's when you have to show your depth. That's when they have to actually go out there and get some wins, is with the second teamers and the backups that are filling in, because that shows your depth. And I actually thought we were looking good as far as depth goes, but these last couple of losses were horrible.
Yeah, and I think after we did the last podcast, we didn't know the extent of the Kittle injury. I think he had a strained hamstring, but it didn't look like anything major, nothing like that would hold him out of the game. And then you learn Saturday that he's rolled out. So we go into the game with no Kittle, no Deebo Samuel, which we knew. Still without Chris McCaffrey, who, as of this weekend, was on a plane to go to Germany to see a specialist about his Achilles tendonitis. So that concerns me. That's probably one of the biggest, pauses for anger, or, just concern for the rest of the season. It's like, how bad is this thing? We thought it was just a tight calf and a tight, Achilles tendonitis type deal, but this could be a major degenerative injury that might keep him out of the rest of the season. We'll just have to kind of pay attention and see how that goes. So yeah, we're down guys. The next guys have to step up. It was nice having Hufanga back in this game. He looked real good. They kind of had him on a pitch count, so to speak. Some guys were like Mustafa would come in for him periodically, just because you don't want him out there for every snap. He's getting back. This is his preseason, but. Some unfortunate news we learned Monday was that Javon Hargrave tore his tricep. He's going to be out for the rest of the season with tricep surgery. I guess it's just one of those things, like once your tricep tendon is partially torn, it's basically on a string, and it's just going to go eventually. So get the surgery done. Possibly be back in 4 to 6 months. If we make a late playoff push, he might be back in there. But
and that's really disappointing because he was looking so good But then Bosa played every single snap in this game, and that's kind of scary. We don't want him to get hurt. They need to go out on the waiver wire and get another guy, or what do you think?
Make a trade. Or make a trade. Why not bring back DJ Jones? I've been hearing that a lot the last couple of days. DJ Jones is on the Broncos. They're not a good team. This is a rebuild season. Although they did have a pretty surprising win over the Buccaneers this last weekend. I think DJ Jones is gettable for a 6 or 7 round pick. Get some more depth in the inside. Maybe even see, what other teams are what kind of depth there is around the league at pass rusher. It might be some good talent on people's practice squads that have a little speed, a little power, maybe some pass rush moves, but are just behind other guys that are a little bit better. So I'm sure John Lynch is looking at it. He's probably on the phones right now and he's talking to people about possibilities for trades.
Yeah. So just to illustrate how frustrating this is, you look at the total stats. So the 49ers, 425 total yards, Rams, 296, passing yards, 288 to the Rams, 198, rushing yards, 137 to their 98. I mean, they can win a game with those stats, but it's disappointing because we had a nice lead and we just couldn't put them away. We just couldn't finish and get that. And that missed field goal is huge. I mean, you can't blame everything on Moody, but that would have, sealed the deal. That's something we can't have.
And it kind of puts a dark cloud on Juwan Jennings' huge game.
Game.
He had a game that only players like Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice had previously been able to do. 3 touchdowns, over 170 yards, caught everything except for the first pass that was thrown his way on the opening drive.
Yeah.
But other than that, he was just making catch after catch. He refused to be covered.
11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 15.9 yards per catch to Mr. Ayuk, $60 million man, and his 5 catches for 48 yards. Oh, man, there was a couple in there I thought Brock missed him on, but
there was a play, I think it was third or fourth quarter, where Brock had a ton of time. There was a breakdown in coverage, and Ayuk broke off his curl route and just went deep. And Brock saw him, but I think he saw him too late, and he figured by that time there wasn't enough time, or maybe he didn't have enough arm strength to get it down, 60, 70 yards.
Yeah. So
he decided to just dump it off to Jennings for one of his catches. But that was a missed opportunity. I mean, that could have been a difference maker. That could have put us up for good and just kind of put that game to bed. But
I still think you can't force that. Ayuk will get his, and now we're going to need we need Kittle back, first of all. Do you have any injury updates, Lucas?
I think he's going to be back. I think if this would have been a playoff game, he would have played. This is it's still early in the season. It's a long 17-game season. So let's err on the side of letting these guys heal, let them be closer to 100%. I think he'll be back there in the next game against the Patriots. But his replacement had a pretty decent game. He's not the blocker that Kittle is, but Saubert, I thought, had a nice game. Had some good grabs. He looked good out there. He was his route running looks to be pretty good, almost as good as Kittle. The one thing we were missing with Kittle is that leadership, though, that toughness, the attitude, the yak. He gets the ball for a 5-yard reception and he can easily get another 20 yards after that. That's just something that we haven't really seen so far this season. We're kind of used to our team having all kinds of yards after the reception, yards after the catch, but I haven't really seen it this year. I have to think we're at the bottom of the league in yards after the catch, whereas we're usually at the top.
Well, let's hope that Debo comes back to fix that stat. Now, just looking back at the offensive line, I think we should get down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz. And there were some bright points, but there was a lot of points where they were getting pushed back by the Rams. So take it from here.
So bright spots. I thought, especially in the first half, we ran the ball extremely well. We were giving the ball to Mason. He looked good. We kind of controlled the offensive line. We controlled the line of scrimmage with the offensive line for the most part in the first half. But it shouldn't have only been a 14-7 game. It should have been it should have been 21-7. We were driving, and Colt McKivitz just gave up one of the worst sacks I've ever seen. The DN on the Rams stripped Purdy. They recovered it. And luckily our defense held, or they could have got it to 14-10 at the least. And it's just something that can't happen. I mean, you got to put the Rams to bed in the first half. And the offensive line just wasn't able to do it. In the second half, the Rams started to amp up their pass rush. I felt like they started to play the run against us a lot better. We started missing blocks or getting holds or getting, little penalties here and there. There was a illegal man downfield on a quick slant that took back a nice gain. So just little things like that. I got to clean it up. Brendel hasn't really had a good season so far. I think that's an area where I feel like we can upgrade. Some guys behind him, Drake Nugent, maybe even Nick Zakel, or John Feliciano if when he comes off the IR. He might be able to upgrade that position with another player. McKivitz is going to be a little harder. I think ideally I would move Pooney to the right tackle and maybe start Feliciano right guard like he did, or Spencer Burford.
I like
Everything's
Burford.
on the table. If McKivitz continues to not do well out there and cause turnovers and put Brock's um, you know passing lanes at rest, then we gotta consider moving around and put him on the bench for a little bit. No job is ever promised for the rest of the season. I think it's a week by week thing. If other than Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Lenore, I think every guy's job is up for grabs on the defense.
Yeah, and then offensive line wise, Trent and all these shenanigans. Like I don't know if you listen to Damon's show, but he was pissed off because all these shenanigans before the season. These guys should have been practicing and actually playing some preseason games, maybe, or at least getting in there and getting some action because
Yeah, in a perfect world,
he's
we want him to be in the off-season workout programs, preseason,
Trent's
working
got
on
an IV
craft.
in 2 of the 3 games because he's dehydrated. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, he's exerting himself, and he didn't have any ramp up into the season. So I think he missed the last 2 plays of the first half with cramps, but he came back in the second half. I mean, he was solid. He graded well. I don't think he gave up a sack. He may have had a penalty, but Trent was solid. It's just Brendel and McKivitz. That's where we have a nickname for him. It's McShivitz, because he played McShitty. So I'd be okay with seeing some new guys on the offensive line.
so what's your overall grade for this game for the offensive line?
B
For the
plus.
trenches?
Brock had more time to throw this game than he's had, I think, in his career. So the time given was actually good. There was an untimely blitz and turnover, or I'm sorry, sack and turnover, but he had plenty of time out there, and he scrambled well when there wasn't anything there, when the guys were covered, or when he
Yeah.
didn't see a guy was open like Ayuk.
And then
But
there's guys like Ronnie Bell who should probably be on the unemployment line, according to
yeah,
most fans.
yeah, and I
That
think
was a
if Kyle would
horrible
have,
showing.
yeah, we'll talk about that later. If Kyle would have stuck to the run game in the third and fourth quarter, we easily could have had over 130 yards rushing. But he kind of went to the passing game, which was good for Jennings and it was good for Brock. It made their numbers look good, but I think that's not us.
Yeah.
I think we need to dominate games on the ground, and it could have been even more of a time of possession game for us. When the Rams scored, it was quick. It was deep passes. It was passing interferences.
Yeah.
It was a big punt return at the worst possible time, and the offensive line they weren't bad. They were actually pretty good this game. It's just this wasn't a game for the defense to be proud of.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're the ones that cost us the game.
They really
Defense and
need
special
they
teams.
need to be able to have better pressure to shore up having the coverage take that long. And
Yeah.
I know that Travarius Ward was actually injured and was trying to play on it, which we can't have that either. We need guys that can run at his position, obviously. So I don't know the extent of his injury. Hopefully he'll be back because we need him. But how do you think we fare against New England coming up here?
So New England is not a good team. They won one game this season, kind of surprisingly, but now 1-2. So they're coming in with a journeyman quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. A lot of young guys, not as talented as us. Even with our backups, I still think we have way much more talent compared to them, and they're not coached by Bill Belichick anymore. So they don't. There's not that aura and mystique of we're playing the Patriots. We got to win, and we got to win convincingly, I think, for the season to turn around. I don't want to just edge them out and barely beat the Patriots. I want to beat the Patriots by at least 2 touchdowns, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think the ground game is going to be dominant. I think Trent Williams is going to not have an IV for the third straight game, and I think Mason is going to run for over 150 yards. So I think we're going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be in the 30s, 35, 49ers, Patriots. Oh, 12.
Nice. Yeah, I'm
Deep-
looking at I'm thinking bounce back game on all facets of the game. We need to show the depth is there, and I'd like to see some of these backups, you know, get some more playing time. I mean, I'd like to see our guys back and healthy, but if they're not, for instance, at tight end, we need someone who's going to be able to block. We don't expect them to do what Kittle does, but
no.
he's basically a pulling guard when he needs to be. But we need somebody who's going to be able to do what it takes to protect Brock and get some insurance that we're in the fourth quarter. It's not going to be even close, right? I mean, that would
Yeah,
be
and
nice.
last season we went from having one of the best linebacking cores in Greenlaw and Warner to now, without Greenlaw there, we've had Devondre Campbell for the last 3 weeks, and he's just not
Way
good. He
different.
can't
Yeah.
cover. He's slow.
Yeah,
He's
he's
not a
missing
great
his
tackler.
assignments.
He's
Yeah.
not instinctual at all. So the Niners brought in D Winters. D Winters was finally healthy. He had an ankle issue. He gets in and he re-aggravates his ankle. So then we have to put back in Campbell, and
Ouch.
he was the culprit on the 25-yard passing interference on the Rams. Was it the game win? Yeah, I think it
Oh
was the
yeah, yeah.
game-winning field goal drive in the fourth quarter. So maybe we have a kid behind. We have a kid who hasn't played He hasn't played a linebacker all year. He's been on the special teams, but Curtis Robinson looked really good in the preseason. I think we got to give him a shot. Like, let him.
I think that's a great idea.
He's a
He looked
fast
really good.
young
Yeah,
linebacker. He's hungry.
he's
You know,
fast. Yeah,
he can't be any worse than Devondre Campbell. He's definitely faster. So
yeah.
give him a shot. Let's see how he does out there.
Well, let's
And
hope that they
Leonardo Green.
listen to you somehow, because that would be
Yeah,
that's a good point. I didn't even think of him. So is he on
yeah.
the practice squad right now, or is he?
No, he's on the team.
Oh,
He's
okay. Yeah,
yeah, he's
give him a
been on
shot.
the active squad. Yeah, I forget his number, but he's been on almost every special teams team.
Nice.
Punt return, punt team, kickoff, all those. So let's give him a shot. I also want to see uh Ronaldo Green maybe come in for Isaac Yiadom, and much faster player, 4-3 guy. Isaac Yiadom has been picked on all season. Every time he's come in the nickel package. I feel like teams just attack them and are
Yeah.
very successful. Almost half the passes that goes away are completed. So let's give the I think it was a third round pick or fourth round pick Green. Let's give him a shot. Let's see how he does. I think he's ready.
And then, so what was your final score again?
35-12.
All right. So I'm going to go with the Niners 48, because they're going to be
Or
pissed off, and we're going to be happy. It's going to be 48-10 blowout
nice.
at home.
Oh, real quick, we're
Yeah.
gonna bring back the players of the game. We didn't give
Oh
our
yeah.
players of the game. So you go
Even though it's a
first.
tough one, I'll go with the
Still gotta
obvious.
have players of the game.
Third and Jawan Jennings, unbelievable day, and I hope that he can continue to do that even when our starters are back, because he's a phenomenal player. He's fun to watch, and just even in the Super Bowl, he let you know who he was, and yeah, it's definitely him. And then on the defensive side of the ball for me, it would be Lenore. I think he's just been solid so far, and he's trying to hold people accountable, and doesn't want people to get complacent. I like some of the stuff he was saying and the way he was playing. So, who do you got, Lucas?
Yeah, I love your picks, Lenore, especially. Just guys don't even throw his way now. Like they treat him like he's the number one cornerback, and are going after Charvarius Ward, right? So
Deion Sanders.
yeah. So I love seeing Talanoa Hufanga back, Huff.
Yeah.
I think we really missed his energy, his vibe. It's just you noticed him out there, and he came up. He was hitting. He knocked somebody on the sideline and
Oh
sent
yeah.
him like 10 yards into the Gatorade bucket on one play. I think he had about 6 or 7 tackles. Missed one, missed a big tackle on a play, but other than that, just solid. I feel like
As we remember, he
went
always plays well
instinctually
at
ready.
home too. Sorry, he always
He
plays
does.
well at home. So go ahead.
Yeah. Levi South. So I love seeing Huff out there. He's my player of the game, even though the defense wasn't great altogether. And on offense, Brock. Brock had a great game. Like he evaded some defenders. He bought time. he was lethally accurate. I think the only 2 times I saw him throw like nowhere near an offensive player, I think he was just deliberately just throwing the ball away because they were blanketed. There's a couple throws to Ayuk where I think he didn't feel like there was enough room separation between him and the defender, so he just threw it away. Other than that, it was drops. If he would have had I think some stat was that if the passes that were dropped were made, he would have had another 42 yards, including that big drop by Ronnie Bell.
Yeah.
And he'd be leading the NFL right now in passing yards, which is pretty incredible since, we're considered to be a running team and a power running team at that. But Brock stepped up. He's been good this year.
He also put another 43 yards on the ground with his feet.
On the ground, right. That's what I mean. Scrambling. Yeah. And those 3 TD passes. So
nice. Good pick.
His passer rating is up there. I think it's 1 or 2 in the league. Passing yards, 2 in the league. QBR, 1 in the league. And nobody's talking about him as being an MVP candidate because our team is 1-2.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Sam Darnold. Go figure, his backup.
Well, it's time to fix that. Let's go Niners and catch you on the flip side. We'll see you next week. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that we can do the things we've said in this podcast. And thank you for tuning in to the Stick 49er podcast. I'm Lucas McLaughlin here with Lucas Ortiz.
Stay faithful, Niner fans. Hang in there. It's a long season. Let's go. 6 in a row.
Hopefully you'll get to go to a winning game next, Lucas.
Yeah, last year we won against the Jaguars. That was a good trip, but not to be this year. Fun weekend in LA, but the outcome sucks. But
that's too bad. All right, man. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Welcome to the Stick 49er podcast. I'm Lucas McLaughlin here with Lucas Ortiz. And of course, like all Niner fans, we're extremely disappointed. The Niners dropped the big one and Lucas was at the game 27-24 in a game that there was no way they were going to lose that game. And why would they have? And it almost like they got lazy and let a team hang around that burned them, that usually doesn't burn them. But injuries have played a part, but Jennings had a huge day. Lucas, how was it being there at the game?
Game up until about the fourth quarter was awesome. It was, you could probably see it on the TV. It felt 80 to 90% 49er fans. I mean, I literally saw red everywhere I walked. A lot of Niner fans out there chanting, high-fiving each other, making new friends next to you. It was a great atmosphere. It's a great stadium. It's our second home stadium, but the Rams went on the road in LA and took it to us in the fourth quarter. We made a lot of mistakes. We helped them out. There's no excuses for letting them get a fake punt and in a very obvious situation. There's no excuses for 3 pass defense flags in a very crucial moment in the game on one play. There's no excuse for letting Tutu Atwell get behind you on a don't let anybody get behind you situation. And we shot ourselves in the foot. What can I say other than the Niners? They're going to have to do a lot of soul searching. They're going to have to figure out how to be more focused and close these games out. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things where we know we're not at that point where it's like panic button. It's just we got to start
concern button.
We got to close out these games, and finishing is everything. And I think Lenore in his after the game interview, he put it right on the head. They got to hold people accountable, and people